Brother Bayram met an atheist in Turkey who had studied philosophy and didn't believe in miracles. They spent hours discussing the Bible, but it didn't seem to go anywhere. Would you be discouraged if you were trying to share your faith in a situation like that? Later that night, this atheist realized a relationship with God isn't about arguments or philosophies. It's about knowing a person, the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Brother Bayram picks up the story.
And he said he read more than 2,000 books, but he never believed in miracles. But when we prayed over him, something happened, and that night Jesus came to him.
Jesus never promised his followers an easy path. In fact, he told his disciples that the world would hate them. He sent them out as sheep among wolves. Jesus' words came true in the life of the apostles, and they're still coming true today in the lives of his followers around the world. Join host Todd Nettleton as we hear their inspiring stories and learn how we can help. Right now on the Voice of the Martyrs Radio Network.
Welcome again to the Voice of the Martyrs Radio. My name is Todd Nettleton, and we are in our studio today in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, with a man we're going to call Brother Bayram. He is from the nation of Turkey. Bayram, welcome to the Voice of the Martyrs Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Bayram, your story of coming to faith involves coming to America, and I want you to share a little bit of your personal testimony because some American Christian played a part in helping you find Christ. I hope our listeners are going to be inspired by that thought. So how did you come to faith?
Thank you for the opportunity, and it's my privilege to be here. Yeah, I grew up in Turkey with a the very devout Muslim family. I was a practicing Muslim myself. I came in year 2000 to US to get my master's degree here. After the school, I started my own business, retail business. One day, this was in year 2014, a lady dropped a small New Testament in my store deliberately.
Now, when you say she dropped it, did she just leave it there, or did she hand it to you and say, "Hey, you should read this"?
She just left it on the desk. We didn't have any conversation, but I guess she showed me though. She didn't do it in secret. And I just took it and take it home and I guess start reading it. John chapter 13 through 17. The Last Supper speech really touched my heart. But as a practicing Muslim with a very devout Muslim wife, it's really hard to get out of Islam, But over time, I kind of became in between, because Jesus in the Bible is very different than the Jesus we learn in Islam. I always believed in God, so I start praying to God to help me. In my heart, I was having a lot of the debates, I guess, and hard times, and I started praying every night. I was going to this room and closing the door and just trying to pray. And
what were those prayers like? Were you just saying, "Hey God, show me who you are," or "I want to know the truth. Show me the truth"?
To be honest, I had some prayers that memorized in Arabic as a practicing Muslim from the Quran. These were some of the words of like Elijah or Moses. Their supposed prayers. I was praying those in Arabic and then adding my own words. Then it was May 2014. My wife and my daughter were in Turkey for a vacation. And I was alone in the house, and I went to this room again at night to pray, and God gave me a vision. Jesus came to me. When you see him, it's not like seeing the Jesus movie on the TV. The first thing that I realized, he didn't say I'm Jesus, but that's Jesus, and he is the Lord. I said, Lord, my heart squeezed, Lord, I said, I can change, I can become a Christian. I know he wanted that. And
did Jesus speak to you in Turkish?
He didn't speak.
He didn't speak. He was just there, and you knew who he was.
In that vision, like I was sitting in the moon, like seeing the earth, like seeing from the moon, earth, and he was so big, he was over the earth and covering the whole earth with his skirt,
Wow.
Yeah, that was... And
the whole earth is full of his glory, I think the Bible says.
And he overcome the earth, and he's presenting the earth to Father.
So then at what point did you tell people in your family, hey, I'm not a Muslim anymore?
Hmm. Yeah, at first I told to my wife on the phone, and her first reaction was she would divorce me.
Instantly.
Instantly, yeah. And she's a
Wow.
practicing Muslim, and she knows that her family wouldn't accept this. She has two elder brothers. Then I told my brother in his house, apartment in Turkey, in Istanbul. I saw a dream, and I become a Christian. I didn't know any Christian. I didn't know any church.
Your whole Christian experience was somebody had given you a New Testament, and
Uh-huh.
you had read it,
Uh-huh.
and you had this vision of Christ. So nobody had discipled you, nobody had trained you up.
No.
You were just saying,
Yes.
hey, I'm a follower of Christ now because I had this vision.
Yeah. I was just saying I'm a Christian now. But at first my brother didn't react. But the next day, with an old friend, he said they want to take me to a psychiatrist. When you start
You
talking-
might be crazy. You've become a Christian. You might be crazy. Let's go to a psychiatrist and get you checked out.
Yeah, dreams and visions and stuff, I said, why not? I thought that would be like 30-minute session, and I would share my testimony. I have all those businesses in the U.S. I went some of the best schools in my country, got master's degree. So I didn't think anything bad would happen, but they took me to a mental hospital, and they locked me up there for 15 days. I got in, and they got my phone. They said they're going to run some tests. They took me up to 4th floor behind the locked doors among like 15 to 20 real crazy people. Whenever the doctors wanted to talk to me, they would take me to, the office, small office, and question me, I answered all their questions, and I keep telling them I cannot be the only one in the world seeing Jesus in a dream and becoming a Christian. One of the doctors actually talked to me later on. He searched, and he said, the 60 to 70% of the Muslim becoming a Christian through visions and dreams. That's a big
So you definitely
person.
weren't the only one.
Yeah.
So you're locked in a psychiatric hospital.
Yes.
You can't leave. You can't get out. Did you ever have second thoughts? I mean, were you thinking, wow, if I just say, I don't believe Jesus anymore, then I can go home? Did you ever consider doing that?
It didn't even come to my mind, to be honest. I was trying to find the New Testament to read, but no books were allowed inside. I tried to share with some of the guys in there, but some of them were like there to get some reports, to run away from the military service. They were pretty sane, but playing games. I tried to share with them somehow. God really put that desire in me, talking about God, After I got out of there, I turned back to US. My wife didn't come back. We are still separate after 6 years. And she has been using my hospitalization against me in the divorce court and in other courts to prevent me seeing my daughter. I've been dealing with that a lot. The court sent me to the state hospitals to get reports. That took me 2.5 years to get reports from a couple of the state hospitals saying that I am fine. But last 3 years, I haven't seen my daughter. That's the hardest part of my life. But other than that, with my parents, we had some hard time at the beginning. My father almost disowned me. My mother, of course, cried a lot. She even got hospitalized one night. I told my father, it didn't come easy, it won't go easy. You can even kill me if you like, but that's who I am now, man.
Does your family see a difference in you? Do they notice that something has changed?
We don't live together, but, when we come together, I show the most respect. I'm trying to be the most respectful to them. I really love them, I pray every day for them, for my wife, for my daughter, for my family. For my brother and his family. They didn't do that. My brother didn't do that out of like enmity. They were really worried.
They were worried about you. Yeah.
But anyways, my father told me, I accept you for an atheist for now, but I'm going to take you to the Muslim scholars and we're going to convert you back to Islam, he said. I said, okay, why not? I will meet anyone you like, And then we met with this scholar 3-4 times. We had hard debates, yelling and shouting sometimes. I mean, not yelling, but, kind of raising voice, Of course, everything that he was telling me about Islam, I already knew, but he didn't know anything Christianity. And Muslims think that there are like 4 New Testaments, and the New Testament is separate than the Old Testament. With this scholar, I always bring the subject to the crucifixion, because according to the Quran, Jesus didn't die on the cross.
Right.
He was taken up to heaven, and some other guy, maybe one of the disciples, or most believe that Judah Iscariot, make him look like Jesus, and they crucified him instead. Of course, that's not right, historically not right. It's not just the Christian, the sources, but the Roman and Jewish sources also talks about Jesus being on the cross. So I try to bring the subject there and try to reason with them. But you can only reason if they are open to reason, if they want to really listen to you. Yeah, since then for the first year, after I came back to US after the hospital, God put the desire of getting baptized in me. I didn't know much about baptism, but a voice kept telling me that I need to get baptized. And then I started looking for a church. I remember my first day going there, trying to find the entrance. I could see the people sitting inside, but couldn't find the entrance on Sunday. Then I finally got the doors and got in. I was afraid for a second that I won't be able to get in there.
We're talking today on Voice of the Martyrs Radio with Brother Bayram. He is a believer from the nation of Turkey, but he came to faith while living and while studying in the United States. Bayram, some of our listeners are like the lady who left the New Testament in your shop. They know a Muslim, or they eat at a Middle Eastern restaurant, and they want to reach out. How would you advise them to be like that lady, to plant the seeds of the gospel in the Muslims that we know?
Yeah. Don't be shy. My first recommendation, please do not be shy, Just talk to them. They have a hunger for friendship. I lived that. I didn't have any friends. I lived 15 years in the U.S. The Muslims, especially the ones that they are living here, they live here, they went through a lot of, the steps to get in the United States. So most probably they are more educated. So they are more open for, the discussions. And the first thing is the love. They need, just show the love of Christ to them. Just invite them to your church. They will come, and don't be afraid of them. Like I said, they've been through a lot of steps to get in the United States, so they are pretty secure. Just take them to a picnic or, for a gathering in the church. They will come and listen to you. They will even join into the worship. They will, listen. And then you can share. And they are always open to debate about their faith. Most of them are, they know what they believe, how they believe. So you need to be ready to confront them, and you need to know your faith and your, the fundamentals, and so you can answer to them. They think that, the Christians, out of their love to Christ, they made him divine, over time.
Right.
So it's one of the biggest questions, and the Trinity, is related. If you know the first one's answer, you can answer the Trinity too. You can show them that there are manuscripts from the early centuries that the Bible never been corrupted. And they have a lot of misinformation in their cup. We have kind of double job. We try to empty that cup first and try to fill with the right information.
You came to faith in Christ. You got involved in a church here in the U.S. You got baptized. And then God starts calling you go back to Turkey.
Yes.
So you're in a safe place, you have a good job, and God says, hey, I want you to go back to Turkey, the same place where your own family locked you up in a mental hospital. Did you argue with God about that, or did you just say, yes, Lord, I'm ready to go?
No, I was eager to go.
Were you worried at all about the security?
Just a little bit. I still don't have much fear, to be honest. I know where I'm going, I guess, and I know God is with me. We all are gonna die, so it's the matter of how we're gonna die and what purpose we're gonna die. I would like to glorify God through my death too, if that's His wish. So within a year, I closed most of my businesses and transferred them and turned back to Turkey. I could see the potential in Turkey among the young people. Turkey has over 80 million population, but there are only right now about 10,000 believers. Year before it was only 7,000.
Wow.
It's almost 50% increase in 1 year, which is good.
Praise the Lord.
I started in Istanbul. I didn't know any organization at first. My first month when I was there, I was buying New Testament from this bookstore, Christian bookstore, tiny. This was on one of the big crowded street in the world. Like 2 million people passes every week over that street. And there is a church, a Catholic church there. Like a museum though, and people go in just to see around and go out. And I started distributing New Testaments at the door. I was kicked out of there, of course.
Troublemaker.
Yeah. But the manager of the bookstore saw me buying all those books and stuff, and he started asking what I'm doing, and we start the conversation, and I shared my testimony with him. He shared his testimony with me, and he helped me a lot. He was actually an Orthodox priest at the same time. He's an Armenian descendant, but a newborn Christian, a very strong one. I learned a lot from him, and then he connected me with Turkish church. Then after I closed my business here, when I went back there, I started working to this organization called BCC, Bible Correspondence Course.
And talk a little bit about what that is, Bible Correspondence Course.
Yeah. BCC has been in Turkey for more than 60 years now, and they've been sending New Testaments. At first, they were using this old, the phone books, sending small cards to the addresses there and asking if would you like to receive the free Bible. If people respond, they would send. And over time, of course, they start doing advertisement on the newspapers and TVs and radios and stuff. Now they use the social media a lot. And when I started there in 2015, we were sending about 100 to 150 New Testaments every week to all over Turkey. Now they are sending more than 400 every week.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
So you get some emails or messages on social media that say, wow, I really want a New Testament. I'm very interested to learn about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect you also get some other kinds of messages too, though, where they say, hey,
yeah,
you're an infidel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming to your house. Is that common?
Yeah, we get a lot of threat messages. We were attacked on the street, many times. And, right now, Turkey, after the Andrew Brunson case, the Turkish government started to deport a lot of foreign missionaries. As they pick all the most effective ones, and they deport them. We lost 15 to 20 that I know of missionaries over last 2 years period.
And is that a matter of they find them and kick them out, or just when their visa is up, they say, we're not going to renew your visa, or a little bit of both?
Both.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I know one of those is David Bile, who you know, and who has been our guest here on Voice of the Martyrs Radio. If you want to listen to that conversation with David, you can. We'll give you a link at vomradio.net. So why is the Turkish government worried about people like David Bile who are just there living out the gospel?
Yeah. They don't really give a valid reason. They just say, you have to leave the country within 2 weeks. We see you as a threat to the public. Okay. We are not an Islamic country. There's a democracy.
And faith is protected, right?
Yeah, faith is protected. You can share your faith.
It's legal for you as a Turk to be a Christian.
Exactly. It's not like a Islamic country, like Sharia country, not like Iran, say, if we were a Sharia country, I wouldn't be able to live in there.
Right.
That would be killed. But
so
Turkey's not like that.
You've had some experiences where the police have detained you,
whether
you're witnessing or handing out Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
What do the police ask? Like, what is their problem with what you're doing?
They say for security reasons. Like we were in Erzurum, which is not a border city, and they say, you are allowed to distribute this, but don't do it here. you may get in trouble. We may not be able to to save you.
So in other words, they would say, we're protecting you by telling you not to do this.
Exactly.
It's perfectly legal, but don't do it.
Yes,
because we can't protect you.
We may not be able to protect you. But when we were in Suruc, which is the Syrian border city, and we were 5 of us, 2 Canadian friends and 3 Turkish. We had a young guy, 22 years old, new believer, Turkish brother with us. We went there. It's like I say, it's a bordering city with 100,000 population. We were going to visit a new believer there. But as soon as we got out of the bus, police came and stopped us, and they took us in. They questioned us for more than 2 hours. Different departments inside the police came and, they questioned us. They asked for what we are carrying, why we are there, high security place. And they went through all our books, if they are legal books or not. And then they took Soner aside and told him that you need to be careful, boy, these guys are missionaries. And the Soner replied, I'm a missionary too.
Wait a minute, I'm a missionary too.
Yeah, but this is the thing,
But they must have known you were coming. I mean, if they got you as soon as you got off the bus, they were waiting for you.
Yeah, they follow us. This is fine, they are doing their job, and sometimes we are very thankful that they are following us. Like, I was in eastern border, another city. This was south. This when I was in east with Adrian, an Australian friend. Some tourist guys actually called us on, and we didn't know. They said they are journalists, and we sat down in a cafe. We always meet in in the crowd, in
a public place.
But then I saw, the civil police, walking around me, showing their, the radios and, the showing to me, just kind of warning me, I guess, or, making
We're watching.
sure. Yeah, watching. And then we start talking to these 2 guys. One of them was older, and they were facing jail time. As a last resort, I guess they wanted to get some sort of help from us. Of course, we shared the gospel, what else we can do. And we prayed over them. Then this young guy said, last time I called my cousin here, and they arrested him, and he's still in jail. Thank you for calling us here. Then we went to Ağrı, where Mount Ararat is, the Easter. We have a really nice story there that night. Mehmet, an atheist guy, called us in. We went to his apartment. He had a few of his friends. I wanted to give him a short summary of the Bible, the fall and the people of Israel and the redemption, but it took me like 4 hours, because he kept.
That's a longer summary.
Because he kept interrupting and asking questions. He had a lot of questions. He was a very well-educated person. He had the bachelor's degree in philosophy, master's degree in anthropology, and he was doing another bachelor's degree there in Russian literature. Then at the end, it was after midnight, I told him, Mehmet, we can do this till morning. I will answer all your questions. But at the end, it's up to your heart. If you are really seeking the truth, just talk to God. He helped me. He will help you too. We prayed over him, and we left there, and we went to our hotel, and we spent another several hours sharing with the hotel manager. Then in the morning, we turned back to Istanbul, and we got a phone call from Mehmet, and he said, he's been an atheist since he was like 13 years old. When he first read the Quran in Turkish, he became an atheist. It's very common in Turkey now. And he said he read more than 2,000 books, but he never believed in miracles. But when we prayed over him, something happened. And that night, Jesus came to him.
We are ending today's Voice of the Martyrs radio broadcast on a bit of a cliffhanger. Brother Bayram has been with us, sharing some of what he's seen God do in the nation of Turkey. He left with a story that I think will challenge all of us to share our faith with more courage. We've heard about an atheist who spent a whole evening arguing with Brother Bayram. Then Jesus appeared to this now former atheist in the night. Next week, we'll find out what happened next. How did this young man with so much book learning respond when he encountered the person of Jesus? Brother Bayram will join us again next week to share the rest of the story. If you just can't wait that long, you can hear more discussions like this one when you visit our archives at vomradio.net or subscribe to the VOM Radio podcast. You'll get to know other guests from Turkey and really all over the world. Again, that website, vomradio.net. And be sure to join us again next week, right here on the Voice of the Martyrs Radio Network.